Maria was standing in the rain and had no idea what to do. She couldn't go home because her husband would probably beat her up again. Her whole body ached. Maria couldn't cry anymore. She had shed too many tears during the last 15 years of their life together. Why did she tolerate it? She didn't love him anyway, and he didn't love her either. He constantly cheated on her, tortured her, and cheated again. This time, it happened the same way it always does. Maria reflected, remembering the events of yesterday. She'd wanted to solve this situation for a long time, but she couldn't find a way out. She didn't want to live in eternal fear that someday he would beat her to the point of disability, or even worse, kill her. What would happen to her girls then? Who would take care of them? Yesterday, her husband came cheerful again, smelling of someone else's perfume. Maria silently endured the insult and decided to talk to him in the morning. He often cheated on her, constantly changing women. They would call him, and he would talk to them in front of his wife without embarrassment, joking and laughing. But with his wife, he was always rude. It shouldn't go on like this. The girls are growing up and already understand everything. She must make things right, at least for the sake of them. The woman couldn't sleep. There were too many thoughts in her head. Where should she start the conversation with her husband? None of her ideas seemed good to her. She knew her husband would insult and humiliate her again, even though she didn't deserve that. Her friends always told her she was just a perfect wife who should be respected and protected. Maria sighed and looked at her watch. "I need to sleep at least a couple of hours." "What are you mumbling?" her husband whispered. Maria remained silent, pretending she was asleep and couldn't hear. Early in the morning, after making breakfast, she called her mom. "Mommy, good morning. Could you pick up the girls after school today? I want to make a surprise for my husband." "Good morning, sweetie. Are you sure about the surprise? I don't think it's a good idea. Do you remember what happened last time?" "No, Mom. It won't be like the last time. I promise." "Okay, dear. I'll pick up the kids." Maria hurried to her children. She had to wake them up and feed them before school. Her daughters were very nice, kind, obedient, and well-mannered. "Girls, wake up! It's time for breakfast!" "Why the hell are you shouting so loudly early in the morning?" A disgruntled husband showed up in the kitchen doorway. Maria didn't dare to say anything again. She knew that after drinking, her husband always had a headache in the morning. She had learned all his habits so well that she could even predict all his actions. That's why she always kept silent, so that there would be less swearing and arguments at home. To her great joy, the girls quickly had breakfast and ran off to school. Her husband also got a call from work and left without having breakfast. Finally, Maria was alone at home. She had a lot of things to do today, so she turned on some music and started cleaning. When she finished cleaning, she decided to treat herself to a warm bath. She had her own special ritual. When everyone left and Maria was alone, she would take a bath, turn on some classical music, and enjoy the peace. This time, she needed to gain strength before a serious conversation with her husband. Time flew by very quickly. Maria was about to cook dinner. She wanted to make a roasted duck with apples because her husband liked it. She wanted to please him even now. After cooking dinner and setting the table, the woman went to the bedroom to dress up. She took out her favorite black dress, applied light makeup, and styled her hair. Maria was standing in front of the mirror and looked at herself. She was a fragile, attractive young woman. She didn't understand why her husband abused her in such a terrible way. The doorbell rang, and she hurried to open the door. Her husband didn't like to wait long. "Max, I made your favorite dinner," Maria started from the doorway. "The girls are staying with my mom tonight. We can spend this night alone, just me and you." "If you come up with some romantic bullshit again, I'd rather leave right now, and I'm not in the mood to talk. Just bring me dinner. I'm hungry." Maria obediently served dinner and sat down across from him. She didn't know how to start a conversation. After waiting for her husband to finish his dinner, she made 2 coffees and went into the living room to her husband. "Max, we can't go on like this. I want to know what's going on. I don't want to live like this anymore. Let's try to start all over again. Let's try for the sake of our daughters." "All over again? Are you out of your mind? Do you really think you can win my compassion by mentioning children? You knew perfectly well that I didn't want children, but you gave birth to them anyway, even though I was against it. All right, since you don't love me and don't care about us, then don't torture me. Don't torture yourself. Don't torture the girls. Let's just divorce. I don't even need your alimony. I can handle everything on my own. We can survive without your help." "Can survive without my help? Have you forgotten how pathetic you were before you met me? You're pathetic. No one wants you. You wouldn't survive even a day without my support." Max was getting more and more angry. "You should be grateful that I've been supporting you and your children all this time. All right, let's get a divorce, but I'll make your life a nightmare. You'll wish you were never born." Max stood up and slapped her in the face. "Max, what did I say wrong? You don't love me anyway. You don't need me and the girls. Just let us go. Stop abusing us. I don't deserve to be treated like this." Maria was almost crying. There wasn't a shred of mercy in Max's eyes. He tried to hit her again, but Maria ran outside in just her dress and with her cell phone in her hand. It was cold outside, and it was raining. She didn't want to go home. Her husband might beat her up again. But she couldn't go to her mother either. She didn't want to upset her. She was soaked to the skin, barefoot, and had a bruise under her eye. It was not a pleasant sight. Maria thought of her childhood friend who lived alone. Maybe she could ask her for help? Maria hesitantly dialed her friend's number. "Hello, Elizabeth. I'm sorry to call you so late. Do you have a minute to talk?" "Hi, Maria. Sure. It's been a while. How are you doing?" Maria sobbed, and then her emotions overtook her. She cried and couldn't say a word. When she calmed down a bit, she briefly explained the situation. "Where are you now? By the pharmacy? Okay, I'll be right there." Half an hour later, Maria was already at her friend's house. Elizabeth made tea and served treats. "So, what happened to you, Maria?" "My husband beat me up again, and I just want peace." "So divorce him." "I can't. He's threatening me." "Don't be afraid. I'll help you." Elizabeth went into the other room and made some calls. "Well, that's it. Everything will be all right now. We'll go to the police in the morning, file a report, and then meet with a lawyer. He'll help you prepare the divorce papers. Do you remember Sebastian? He's the most famous lawyer in the city now. But now, let's go to sleep. You need to get some rest." Maria lay down on the sofa in the living room, but she couldn't fall asleep. In the morning, they went to the police and filed a report. The police promised to do everything possible so that her husband would never torture her again. She returned home with a peaceful mind. Max wasn't home. He didn't come home in the evening and didn't even come home the next day. 10 days later, he showed up, but not alone. There was a girl next to him. She looked at Maria with an arrogant look. Darling, hurry up, or we'll be late. Yes, my love, just a minute. Max stood in the doorway and grinned. Did you want your freedom? I'll give you freedom. I'm leaving with my beloved, and you'll live with him. A man with a backpack looking like a bum was standing behind Max. I got the deposit from him, and we've already signed the contract, so Robert will live here for the whole year. Since this apartment belongs to both of us, I can do whatever I want with my share. Max turned and walked away with a complacent look. Maria was shocked. She was standing there, unable to say a word. She didn't know what to do, whether to be happy or cry. On the one hand, it was good that Max would finally disappear from her life, but on the other, who is this man? How will he behave? How will she and the girls live in the house with a stranger? Maria's ponderings were interrupted by Robert. Good day. My name is Robert. Good day, but I can hardly call it a good day, the woman replied sadly. Please don't be afraid, and don't think anything bad. I'm not a bum or a criminal. I am a doctor. I work as a surgeon in a private clinic. I just recently returned from a business trip and simply didn't have time to clean myself up yet. My apartment needs renovations, so I found your husband's ad about renting out a room. We met and talked it over, but I had no idea about your situation. Your husband didn't say a word about it. Don't worry, everything will be fine. I don't have a choice anyway. Okay, come on in. I'll show you your room. But please, no alcohol or raucous parties in the house. Maria calmed down a little. This man didn't seem as scary as when they first met, and when Robert shaved and took a shower, he turned out to be a handsome man. I've made tea. Would you like to join us? Maria set the table. She was waiting for the girls from school. She thought it would be rude not to invite Robert to join them, but she didn't know how to explain to the girls that she and their father were divorcing and that this strange man would live with them. Fortunately, the girls understood everything and became friends with Robert. The days went by quickly. Robert worked hard and came home late. Maria was trying to find a job, but so far she had no luck. So she was making cakes and pastries at home and selling them. One day, Robert came home from work earlier than usual. It looks amazing. Did you make this? Wow. It's a masterpiece. You should open your own pastry shop. Thank you. I dream about it too. I don't have the money to open my own pastry shop, but I'm trying to find a job in a pastry shop or cafe. Where did you learn to bake such masterpieces? And why don't you develop your talent? I didn't study anywhere. I got married early. Why? I had to. My father got into trouble. We needed money urgently. My father's friend said that if I married his son, he would give us the amount of money we needed. He hoped that if his son got married, he would settle down, stop drinking and partying, and start living a normal life. We didn't love each other, and lived together just because we had to. Whatever is done is for the best. Don't worry. Robert tried to comfort her. It's okay. I'm used to it by now. I'll try to help you open a pastry shop. After all, we're no longer strangers. We live in the same house. We are almost friends. The man smiled at her. Thank you, Robert. Soon, Robert found a building for a pastry shop. Maria's birthday was coming up. He wanted to surprise her. Robert got a loan, hired construction workers, and bought the necessary equipment for the pastry shop. On Maria's birthday, all the repairs were finished, and the building was ready for the opening of the pastry shop. Maria, happy birthday! I have a surprise for you. Thank you. What kind of surprise? Let's go. You have to see it." They drove in silence. Maria was nervous. She felt that something was about to happen, and it would turn her whole life upside down. "Here we are." Maria couldn't believe her eyes. They parked in front of a building with a sign that said her name. Maria. Was it really the pastry shop she dreamed of? But it wasn't just a pastry shop. The building was large. Through the windows, she saw many nice tables for guests, a bar counter, and a refined interior. "This is your cafe now." "This is what you've been dreaming of," Robert said, and gestured for her to come inside. "Mine? But how?" "Well, dreams come true." "Robert, thank you. You must have spent a fortune, but I'll pay you back as soon as I can." "Happy birthday, Maria. Don't think about the money. It's my gift to the most beautiful woman in the world." "Robert, thank you. I'm so happy. This is what I've dreamed of all my life." They walked into the new cafe. Maria looked around the premises with admiration, and then Robert said, "Maria, now let's go to the restaurant. Someone is waiting for us there." "Who? Another surprise?" "You'll see now." Maria's mom, 2 daughters, and Elizabeth were waiting for them at the restaurant. "Happy birthday!" they all shouted together. "Be healthy and happy." Maria was happy. All the dearest people were around her now. She was smiling and shining with happiness. "I'd like to make a toast. Maria, thank you for sheltering me in your house, not kicking me out." Robert raised his glass. "Robert, please don't say that." Maria blushed and looked away. "I've been living in your place for 6 months now. The renovations in my apartment are already finished." Maria thought Robert wanted to move out, and her face turned gloomy. "A lot has changed in these 6 months. You came into my life, and this is the most important event in my destiny. Maria, my love, marry me. I want you, me, and the girls to live together like a family. Will you marry me?" "Yes." Maria's eyes were glowing with happiness. This was the kind of husband she dreamed of. Kind, reliable, caring. A year had passed. They lived together and became a wonderful, close-knit family. Robert was not only a husband to Maria, but he also became a real, loving father to the girls. Now Maria couldn't imagine her life in any other way. She lived in love and care and had long forgotten about her ex-husband and the suffering she had gone through. Luckily, Max didn't remind her of himself anymore. She had only heard a rumor that his mistress had deceived him, stolen a large sum of money from him, and ran away. He deserves it, Maria thought, as she drove to work in her new car. But without Max, she would never have met Robert and would never be happy. Deep in her heart, she was grateful to her ex-husband for that. Today, Maria has a meeting with investors. She was planning to open a chain of cafes under her brand, Maria. When she got out of the car, she witnessed a ridiculous scene. Her ex-husband could barely stand on his feet. He was drunk. He wanted to enter the cafe, but the guards wouldn't let him in. He yelled and threatened them, but the guards were adamant. "Max, don't. Drunk people are not allowed to enter our cafe." "Don't tell me what to do." Or, "Is it your cafe?" And then he stopped talking, looking at the name of the cafe. Max shuddered. He couldn't believe his eyes. Maria, the one he'd hated and mocked for so many years, Not only had she survived and stayed strong, but she'd become a successful woman who, on top of everything else, looked amazing now.